Hello Stampers, Cheryl O'Brien, Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Australia. Well, today I'm going to share another straight to the point video with you, and it's all about the catalogues of Stampin' Up. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to case a card from the catalogue, which is using To a Wild Rose, which is this gorgeous card here. But I'm just going to show you from being a beginner stamper, intermediate, then through to the Avid. So the catalogues are great resources. If you really look hard at them, there's so many different ideas that you can get out of the catalogue. So it's not just a buying tool. So look at all the beautiful pictures in here, and you'll be able to case many cards. So we'll get straight to it. So we're using To a Wild Rose, gorgeous stamp set. It's a 2-step stamp, or actually 3-step stamp, but we're not going to use all of them all of the time. It coordinates beautifully with our Wild Rose dies. So we can cut out our flowers with our dies here. We're just going to be using those two. I've already pre-cut everything, so it's you don't have to sit and watch me do that, but there's so many other gorgeous dies in this set as well. So we'll put that aside. So this is our first card. I've changed the colours up quite a bit. I'm just using the plain Whisper White, and all I'm going to do is stamp, cut out our leaves, and that's it for this first card. And like, how gorgeous is that? It's not very difficult. So for a beginner stamper, this is a really great way to start. So this is the card we're working on, and this is the one I'm doing to start off with. So we'll bring in, so it's just the basic card. There's nothing hard about it. It's 8 1/4 by 5 3/4. I'm just going to fold the card in half, burnish that. And when I do, even from a beginner's card right through to the Avid, like lots of people like to stamp straight onto the card, I like to bring in another piece that just layers it up. It just makes it look a little bit more professional, I think. So we've got two pieces that 3 7/8 by 5 1/2, and I've pre-cut the bits, so we'll just put that aside. So the first piece we're just going to bring in, I need some stamping. Sorry, I'm going to put that aside for now. I'm just going to bring in the stamps I require. So I'm going to use Blushing Bride and Mint Macaron. So when I do a 2-step stamp, it's totally up to you. You can do the inside or the outside first, but I'm just going to ink up full colour and stamp the outside lining. And then I'm going to bring in, you've sort of just got to fiddle around a little bit to see which way the stamp fits. So I'm going to ink up, then I'm going to stamp off because I want it a little bit lighter. And this mightn't quite be exactly because I can't get over with the camera, and just stamp. And there's, how gorgeous does that look? Now we're going to do our leaves exactly the same. I'm going to bring in a Mint Macaron. So I'm going to do the outside first, and then the inside, and I'm going to stamp off with that as well. And that's how easy that is. Then you use your dies. I'm not going to take my time to run through that. And then you're just going to cut them out like so. And I've stamped up the words that I need, and I'm just going to use my scissors to cut these. So all we're just going to do is cut. So if you don't have lots and lots of tools, that's fine. You can soon cut these out with your scissors as well. You can use your trimmers for this if you like, but this is just as quick sometimes. So now we're going to bring all our bits and pieces back in. So first off, I'm going to decide where I want my flower on the card, and I'm going to use dimensionals to just put it up a little bit so I can fit the leaves in underneath. Just get my pick tool to get the backings off. Okay, so we want a little bit of room, so I'm just going to put it about here. Then our leaves. So now you can do it straight off the catalogue, so you can see where you want to put your leaves. So we're going to use, I'm just going to cut this leaf off here, and I'm going to use my Tombow. You can use whatever adhesive that you like best. And I'm just going to slip that in under. And for my second lot of leaves, I'm also going to cut it off. Slip it in up the top. And this little one I'm just going to slip in under here. I'm just going to cut that little bit off. Then get your dimensionals again for your sentiments. These mini ones, they're a little bit smaller than the bigger ones. A bit harder to use. Oops, I don't want that end. And we're just going to put Grateful. To be your friend. Now I'm just going to bring in the card. All I'm going to do here is adhere it with the Tombow to the top of the card. On the inside, in the envelope, I always think it's nice to add some stamping. So I'm just going to stamp the leaves to both. You don't need to do anything else. You can do as much or as little as you like. So that's how easy it is to get an idea from the catalogue and produce a beginner's card or just a simple card. So now we're just going to step it up a bit. So that's that one. So now I'm going to bring in the second one. So what we're going to add this time is just a little bit of embossing to the background and heat embossing as well. So I'll just put that aside. I've already pre-done this as well, just so you don't have to sit and go through the basics. So the embossing folder I used is this great Scripty one. Can you see that? And all you have to do is pop it in, pop your cardstock in and run it through your embossing machine. So I've already done that. Now I'm just going to show you, I'm not sure whether everybody knows how to do heat embossing, but you probably do. But I'm just going to give you a little refresher. So what you need for your embossing is the Versamark ink pad. I'm using silver embossing powder. Stampin' Up! Doesn't have our buddies anymore, but this is just an anti-static pad and a heat tool. So I won't be heating it for you, but I'll just give you a quick run through, a refresher on embossing and how easy this is. So if you haven't done it before, it's a great time to start. So we need our embossing ink, which is just a little bit wetter, and it gives you time to add your embossing powder. So you just need to stamp. So you get a watermark there, and then it's as simple as adding your heat embossing powder. And then you heat that and you get this gorgeous silver lining. So then you can just add your next part of your two-step stamp, just exactly like I did in the first one. So you just ink it up and add your ink. So I'll put that aside and we'll continue on with the card. So all you're going to do exactly the same this time, just that you've got a little bit of embossing and a little bit more interest. And with your embossing here, I haven't done the leaves. I've done the sentiment, and it just adds that little bit of shine. So all we're going to do again is quickly add your dimensionals. And this is more for the intermediate stamper who just likes to do a little bit more and add a little bit more interest to their cards. So I'm just going to add that here. Exactly the same, because it's so small and you can cut reasonably straight. I just find it easier with scissors, personal preference. Quickly add our dimensionals to that. And then we'll cut the leaves exactly the same as before. I find Tombow much more successful when you're using the embossing folder. It just seems to grab onto those little raised bits a lot firmer. So there's nothing different about this one as what I've done to the previous card. Exactly the same layout, exactly the same stamps, just the background and the heat embossing to just make it a little bit more interest. So I'll quickly add this to the and you will just stamp your envelope and your inside exactly the same. So that's just the difference between so you've got your plain, and then you've just got your embossing and your heat embossing as well, and they both look gorgeous. Okay, so now we're going to step it up just a little bit more. Just move that aside and bring in the embossing. Here we go, sorry. I needed to get the sponges and our embossing folder. So this is our card for the Avid stampers, just adds a little bit more interest. We're using a little bit of bling and we're doing some sponging as well. So I'll just move this aside a little bit. So the embossing folder this time is Tasteful Textile. It's a gorgeous, just a lovely little soft background. So you run that through your embossing machine. Got these here. So I've folded my card. I've run my piece through the embossing machine. That's my insert. I've done the flowers exactly the same, so I've just done the heat embossing, and then I've used, this time it's a 3-step stamp, so I've used the whole lot. So I did this one in the silver heat embossing, I did this in Blushing Bride but the full colour, and this one for the total background I just did it in a very light pink. You might be able to see that. So that just gives depth to the flower. So, and then I've just did exactly the same again for those. So the little bit we're really going to work on is this sponging piece here, and just adding a little bit of work to that. So I'll put all the sizes for these cards at the bottom of the video and also on my blog, so you'll have a link to that as well. So what we're going to start off with here is with our Blushing Bride, and we're going to be doing a bit of sponging. So I'm just going to ink up my sponge. I always just tap off so it gets rid of that liney bit, and we're just going to add some ink to the cardstock, and you can do this as dark or as light as you like. The one in the catalogue is quite dark. So that's will do me for that. Then I'm going to bring in Rich Razzleberry, and that's going to be the middle colour here. Just blending that along. And then I'm going to bring in Blackberry Bliss. So just ink off, rub off a little, and just blend them into each other. This one I want a little bit darker. And it just takes a little bit to ink up. I just might add a little bit more Rich Razzleberry just to blend it a little bit. And then bring back my Blushing Bride just to blend it down into the Rich Razzleberry. So that looks good enough to me. Just closing those up a little bit. So that's the base of our little piece of cardstock. So now you'll see these blodgy bits here. That's just using a dauber. So this is a dauber, and all I'm going to do is put that in to my Versamark ink pad and just add a few spots. Doesn't matter where they go. Cover that up, and then I'm going to add the silver embossing powder. Just sprinkle it all over. Now you'll see they're quite solid. Sometimes you don't want that. I just get a brush and just dab a bit off, because you don't want it totally looking like circles. So that's that, and then you heat it. Run it with your heater, your heat tool, and that brings it up like so. I might just heat that for you. So here I am back, sorry about that. So I thought if I heat, at least I can show you the next piece. So now what we're going to do next is get this blotchy bit here. So you can do that in a couple of ways. You can get your aqua painter and ink up the top. I just put one refiller drop and I sprayed it with my sprayer, or you can actually put some water or alcohol in one of these and put a few drops in, and then you can spray it. But soon I'm doing it on the video, I thought I'd do it this way, and then it's not quite as, won't go as far, because you need to probably go outside or put it in a box to spray. So you do it, get it quite wet, and then all you're going to do is tap it over your finger. And you can have as little or as much as you like. That looks about enough. And with your aqua painter, just get a piece of paper towel and dry it off, and it'll be fine. Clear this deck a bit. So that's your background. So I'm going to bring my card back in, and I'm just going to place it on here. So the embossing part first. Take the insert out. Then I'm going to actually glue this down as well. And it's just on the side for a bit of interest. And then our flower, exactly the same as the previous two. So I've embossed the flower and I've added 2 layers of the ink. And exactly the same with the leaves. I've taken off the leaves and I've still just glued these down. Under there, and your words again. And I've just heat embossed these with our silver embossing. Just cut out. So you can see how easy it is to do these gorgeous little cards from just one picture in our catalogue. Like this one is, the sample in the catalogue for this one was quite for an Avid stamper, and you just take away the layers to make it suit how you want to stamp. So there's your finished card for an Avid stamper. So I'll bring them all back in. So that's your Avid, your intermediate. I'll clear the deck a little bit. Oh, actually, for the Avid one, I've added a couple of these beautiful rhinestones. Just add one of these. And we'll have one down here and one up here. So you've got your layers, you've got your embossing, you've got your sponging, you've got your heat embossing, you've got your flicking of the ink here, you've got your 3-step stamp, and you've got your bling. So that's your Avid, intermediate, and your beginner. I'll just show you the card again in the book, and this is the card that we've done from. So I hope that makes you use your catalogue a little bit more for your samples, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.